Brought to you by Kellogg's, the folks who give you the widest choice of cereals in the whole wide world. All the great grains in the forms you like best. Yours from Kellogg's of Battle Creek. Now let's all play What's My Line?
And now let's meet our award-winning What's My Line panel. First, our delightful star of the Broadway hit, Once More with Feeling, Miss Arlene Francis.
And now, one of the endearing assets of the Steve Allen Show, Mr. Tom Poston.
Thank you so much for the nice plug. I must say, Steve doesn't need it. He's been getting plugged pretty good by Maverick most of the season. And now here is a charming, gracious lady who is a constant plug for the beauties of the Fourth Estate, Miss Dorothy Kilgallen.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. If you could read tomorrow morning's newspapers, you'd know that New York had a new hit show, The Rivalry, based on the Lincoln-Douglas debates. And we're very proud to have, as one of our panelists, the star of the show, Mr. Martin Gabel.
You've all heard of General Blackjack Pershing, of the late Jack Barrymore, the Union Jack. Well, here's our own General, Jack Charles Daly.
Nothing like being promoted. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to What's My Line. We have some interesting occupations once again, some nice people who brought them here, and a panel it is our pleasure to confound if possible, and I think we'll have some fair degree of success tonight. We'll also have a famous mystery guest before the panel a little bit later in the show, and we'll meet our first challenger. After let's meet our first contestant. Will you come in and sign in, please? Denise Yves. That's right. Is it Miss or Mrs.?
It's me.
Miss Yves. Where are you from?
From France.
From France.
Yes.
Oh, how nice to have you with us. Miss Yves, the panel. Panel, Miss Yves, would you join me over here, please? Tell me, have you spent enough time in our midst so that you're familiar with the way we keep score on What's My Line?
Yes.
Oh, well, that's fine. If you know how to keep score, we'll let the folks at home and those who've joined us in the orchestra and the balconies tonight know exactly what your line is. All right, panel, Miss Yves is salaried, and let's begin the festivities tonight with Miss Arlene Francis.
Mademoiselle Yves, do you work for a profit-making organization?
No, Miss Francis. No.
Nice start.
Miss Yves, if I may, in the broad terms of reference which we use on the program, we would consider your end employer as a profit-making organization. It's a broad terminology. Mm-hmm. Okay?
Oui.
Fine. Miss Francis, will you continue?
So little profit in France anymore. Maybe it's confusing.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Do you give your services to both men and women?
No.
1 down and 9 to go, Mr. Poston.
May I ask, Miss Yves, are you engaged in your occupation while you are in this country?
Yes.
Has it to do with personal contact? Do you...
Yes.
You do. Would you, for instance, perform this service for me?
I could.
Okay.
Will you take it now or later? No.
Yeah. Did you also perform this service in France?
Yes.
I should have established that. Is it a service which makes your client more happy?
I hope so.
It seems to make you more happy. Just talking about. Do you wear a special uniform?
No.
That's 2 down and 8 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
When you say that your duties apply to one sex, usually, I take it that you are referring to the male sex.
No.
3 down and 7 to
You
go,
could do it
Mr.
for
Gabel.
Tom.
I could.
Could. The
Oh, but you
question
don't,
was,
right?
could I use your service? You could. It's possible.
But the question was
Presently,
for-
no. Mr. Gabel?
I just think this
Is your service exclusively for women?
No.
No, I'm afraid, Martin, we have to give you... See, here, what we mean to convey here, that this is a service which both sexes might well avail themselves of, but in the specific employment concerned here, it is conveyed to a member of the female sex. So that's...
You mean by Miss Yvette?
By Miss Yvette.
That's where we go.
To the female.
4 down and 6 to go, Miss Francis.
I see.
You are using the expressions female sex and male sex. Would it be possible that these sexes belong to animals rather than human beings?
No. 5 down and 5 to go, Mr. Poston.
Is it a service that can also be provided for children of
No.
no?
No, not specifically and directly. It might be that children could be involved in an ancillary way, but only thus.
You know.
6 down and 4 to go, Miss
How about an
Kilgallen.
Uncle Solari way?
Mademoiselle Yvette, do you do this indoors?
Yes.
Do the people come to you?
Yes.
Do you talk to them?
Yes.
Do they look more attractive when they leave?
No.
7 down and 3 to go, Mr. Gabel.
Would it be, since you do it for ladies, I therefore assume that men do it for men. Is that a correct assumption?
In some cases?
Yes. Would it be indelicate for you to do it for a man?
No.
8 down and 2 to go, Miss Francis.
Never indelicate.
My
Do
wife
you-
is correcting me again.
Do you have to have some kind of training, not a formal education, but some kind of training for this work?
Yes.
Is the training arduous?
No.
No, I don't think we can call it arduous. 9 down and 1 to go, Mr. Poston.
Does your work take place in a formal situation, as an office or a special room in your...
Does your work take place in a formal situation, like an office or a...
Or a dentist? Is that what I...
No, I think
No,
we'll give you a no on that, too, Mr. Poston. Thank you very much. There's 10 down and no more to go. Miss Yvette is the private secretary to the Duchess of Windsor. And it must be actually fascinating work.
Absolutely.
Must
and
be
wonderful.
arduous, too.
What a wonderful way to live, though. Miss Yvette spends 8 months in France a year and 4 months in New York. And I guess you get to see a good deal of the rest of the world in addition, don't you? Well, it's very nice of you when you're in the United States to give us one of your Sunday evenings. We hope you enjoyed it.
Well, I was greatly honored that you thought of me.
Oh, well, thank you, Miss Yvette. It was a pleasure to have you with us. Thank you. Will you say good night to the family? Well, panel, let's see what you can do with the second challenger. Will you come in and sign in, please? Must be blowing a gale outside. Norma Dean, is that right? Is it Miss or Mrs. Dean?
It's Miss Dean,
Miss Dean, where are you from?
Miami.
Miami?
Yes.
Yeah, that, I dare say, explains that wonderful color that you have.
And we're having beautiful weather this year.
Oh, yes. You also are with the Florida Chamber of Commerce, I dare say, Miami. Miss Dean, may I introduce the panel? Panel, Miss Dean, will you join me over here? And do you know how we keep score, Miss Dean?
Yes, I do.
All righty, wait just a sec. We get that all fixed up, and there you are. Now we'll let the audience in the theater and the people at home know exactly what your line is. All right. Panel, Miss Dean is salaried, and let's begin the general questioning. Next in position, Mr. Tom Poston, I believe.
Oh. Do you work for, in an outdoor capacity?
Yes.
Does it have anything to do with physical
Exercise.
exercise? Prowess, I suppose I should say.
Yes.
It does. Do you work for a profit-making organization?
We hope so.
You do. Is there much travel involved in what you do?
Well, I think we would have to admit that in a manner of speaking, you could say that there's a bit of travel involved in what you do, don't you think?
Yes, sometimes a little more than I'd like.
Yes.
That's what the fellow said when he wanted to get off at the 3rd floor and the elevator cable broke.
Yes, Tom?
It isn't anything.
Go on, Tom.
I pass. In fact, I'm leaving altogether.
Come back in here, Thomas. Miss Kilgallen.
Miss Dean, do you do something that it would be unlikely for anyone on this panel to do?
Yes. I'll take care of that one.
Is there any degree of suddenness with which you move about?
No, really.
Well, now, that's very nice of you, Miss Dean, but I must ask your indulgence here. I would say that we would, by our normal terms of reference, consider that there was an element of suddenness in some...
You mean it's not sudden to you, Miss Dean, because you're prepared, but it would be sudden if it happened to anybody else? Would that be correct?
Well, it's not sudden in the sense that it's unexpected, but
No.
every time it happened to me, I would consider it was very sudden. Yes.
I mean, is there a certain jerk involved?
Now, that... Let's keep these conflicts on a high plane. You mean well, actually, here you get into nomenclature, Miss Dorothy. I would think that Miss Dean would agree that there is, at some point in
I'll
the
withdraw the
exercises.
jerk.
Could I say a jar instead of a jerk?
All
right.
That's a honey.
A propulsive motion.
Yes. Do people watch you when you do what you do?
Yes.
Would you refer to them as an audience?
Yes.
Do you regard what you do as entertainment
Yes.
rather than instruction?
Yes, I think we'd have to agree.
Do you get off the ground?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Don't I go down towards her? Yes.
Yeah.
Well, do you do something other than being shot out of a cannon?
Oh, yes.
Do you have anything to do with water?
Yes.
Is it any sort of fancy diving or being propelled into water?
Yes, we would have to agree. It's that. Yeah.
Then you do something unusual that lands you in either a pool or the ocean. Is that correct? Or a bay?
Yes.
What could it be?
She died.
She does.
Well, do you dive?
That's not my...
No, I think we'd have to give you a no, on
No.
that. That's 1 down and
Got to
9
be
to go,
more
Mr.
than
Gabel.
Do you have anything to do with guarding people?
No.
2 down and 8 to go, Miss Francis.
Are we to rule out skin diving?
Yes.
We ought to rule that out.
Yes.
You're awfully clever.
I'd say no.
Do you dive for something in particular when you dive?
You mean an object which would be the end goal in making the dive? That is placed in the water into which the dive is to be made?
You're putting pearls of wisdom in my mouth, John. Yes.
That's fine. That's
may
3
we
down.
rule out pearl diving?
Feature.
That's the kind of pearls he was giving you.
All right.
Feature. 3 down, 7 to go, Mr. Poston.
Do you enter the water from out of the water as part of your entertaining performance?
Do you enter the water from out of the water as a part of your entertaining performance? If she can find another way to enter the water than from out of the water, it'll be the biggest entertainment we ever saw, Tom.
You let the little lady answer these questions. I don't know if my question now makes any sense. You just distorted it out of all reason, Joe.
You remind me of the man who stood in the middle of the road with a rope. He said you had him so confused he didn't know whether he'd lost a mule or found a rope. But go on.
Yeah, you wouldn't laugh when I told you about that elevator. Is part of your act entering the water?
You can't let me say no.
You know, well, that's all right. We'll find it. Yes.
Is part of it. Is that the most interesting and entertaining part of your act, going from air to water?
Well, I think here, Tom, we'd have to admit if she didn't enter the water, it would probably be more entertaining, but not necessarily nice.
Maybe she had
Sure it is.
say on that.
Sure
That's
it is.
a very good
Is
question.
it the most? Is the while you're in the air the entertaining and interesting part of your act?
Well, we're taking a relative factor from the beginning to the end. We'd have to give you a no there. That's 4 down and 6 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Then there is something that you do after you get into the water that entertains these people. Is that correct, Miss Dean?
No.
No, that's 5 down and 5 to go, Mr. Gabel.
Then there is something you do before you enter the water that entertains these people.
Certainly that would be considered entertaining, yes.
From an airplane, maybe.
May we have a conference of...
You may have 25 seconds.
Dorothy has an idea.
Oh, don't blame me.
Please,
Mrs. Moore.
Dorothy.
But, like going through a hoop of fire or one of those things, not necessarily
Into the
that.
water?
Or
Do
on a
you,
plane.
to, if I may not paraphrase, but quote Dorothy exactly, do you go through a hoop of fire or one of those things, ultimately ending up in the water? Miss
No,
Dean?
no
That's
hoop of fire.
6
Thank you,
down and
Dorothy.
4 to go, Miss Francis.
No, but would we be correct in assuming that it is some sort of a feat getting you into the water, which is what makes you the star of this particular exhibit that you do?
Not only that, but they've had that trouble since she was very small, getting her into the water. Well, yes.
Yes. May we rule out coming out of a parachute or an airplane into the water? We can rule that out. Do you have anything to do on horseback? Do you dive with any... You do dive from a horse?
Miss Dean dives 40 feet.
Nothing. What was that again?
Dives 40 feet on horseback into 12 feet of water, I believe.
The horse as well.
The whole business, Martin. The whole business
I don't
goes.
suppose it'd ever occur to you to have the horse on the
Unfortunately,
show.
it's not into fire.
What'd
The
you say,
horse?
Tom?
The horse jumps into fire?
No, the
No.
horse jumps in the water.
Miss... I give up. I give up, that's all.
A horse in a cannon? I can't believe it.
It's a big one.
The big horse, and, there you are. I think we've confused them thoroughly, and we'll throw all these over. We haven't had as much fun
Give a
in a
little
long
for the
time.
horse.
And thanks for being here. And now, we'll meet tonight's mystery guest in just a moment. But first, here is a word from our sponsor. Now we come to the special feature of our program, the appearance of our mystery celebrity. And my friends are asked to blindfold themselves on this occasion. The blindfolds all in place, panel?
That's all.
Good. Will you come in, mystery challenger, and sign in, please? All right, panel, as you know, in the case of our mystery challenger, we go to a different form of questioning. You ask one question at a time, in turn, moving clockwise. And we'll begin with Miss Dorothy Kilgallen.
Have I been in the same room with you since midnight last night?
Now.
1 down and 9 to go, Mr. Gabel.
Are you a woman?
Miss Francis.
Sounds as though she's underwater.
On a horse?
Are you a picture personality?
Are you a what?
A picture personality.
Films, that is.
Films. Cinema.
Flicks, you know.
Yes, Mr. Poston.
Have you also appeared on the Broadway stage?
Have
Miss
you red
Kilgallen?
hair?
I beg your pardon?
Have you red hair?
2 down and 8 to go, Mr. Gabel.
Did you just make a picture with the great director, Mr. Billy Wilder?
3 down and 7 to go, Miss Frances.
Some no's are stronger than others.
Yeah.
Is it possible that there's more than one person there as our mystery contestant?
Oh.
There's more than one.
That's right. Mr. Poston?
Do you write as well as perform?
4 down and 6 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Are you related to each other, other than professionally?
Is one of you a man?
Miss Frances?
That makes it tidy anyway.
No opinions on this show.
When you appear, do you appear together professionally?
Mr. Poston?
I'll have to waste one. Are there more than 2 of you?
5 down and 5 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Would you say that you were primarily motion pictures rather than Broadway stage?
I would say here, if you will permit, that this is 6 up and a half a dozen down with perhaps the weight on the side of the motion pictures. So we'll hold that question as qualified yes. Mr. Gabel?
I pass.
Well, there we are. Miss Frances?
Martin, how unlike you. We found out that you are, one is a man and one is a woman. Is that correct?
Right.
And that you are related in some way? We found that out already? Would it be a deeply emotional relationship like marriage?
Mr. Poston?
Well, then I assume that you're not blood kin.
What is this?
Is one of you, it happens down home. Would one of you be primarily a singer?
6 down and 4 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Do you both dance?
Mr. Gabel?
Are you Marge Gower Champion?
Yes!
Whispering was a wonderful idea.
That was Gower's idea.
And
We
the
were mean
marvelous
tonight.
idea is the first time I think that's happened. There was no timbre in the voice at all to identify.
We couldn't figure, you know, we knew we both wanted to answer, but how could we do it so you wouldn't know there were 2 of us?
Oh, very good. You might have tapped it out.
Shows you that marriage makes 2 people as one.
Yes.
After a while.
Oh, Martin.
Doesn't it, Archie?
And may I say that you should both, I think, I know you are very proud of that great ovation that you got when you came in
very
here.
Pleasant indeed.
And may I say then that it gives all of us so much pleasure to find you on television so often, and in the movies, and also on the stage. And I trust this goes on forever and ever and ever.
Thank you.
And
So
thanks
do
so
we.
much. Thank you, dear. It's so wonderful of you both to join us.
Thank
Thanks
you.
a lot. Well, in balance, panel, we must say that you've done very well tonight, and we'll be back after this word from our alternate sponsor. And on this very pleasant note, this is John Daly saying good night, Miss Frances.
Good night, John. Good night, Bennett, wherever you are, and good night, Tom.
Good night, Arlene. Thank you. Good night, John. Good night, Dorothy.
Good night, Tom. Good night, Martin, and congratulations again on the rivalry.
Thank you, Dorothy. Good night, Bennett. It's getting hotter here, Bennett. Good night, John.
Good night, Martin. I've heard a lot about Bennett. He's been talking to stand-up audiences all through the South, and congratulations, Bennett. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being with us on What's My Line?
Transportation for contestants on What's My Line is arranged by United Airlines. What's My Line is a CBS television network production in association with Mark Goodson and Bill Todman. This is Hal Sims speaking.